The Oracle. Some call me Whitestar, Aquasil, Salal to Spokes, tactically Whitestar Eagle Visions. I earn these names traditionally. I'm a pipe carrier, a lodge keeper. I'm a prophecy teacher. Right now, as a species, we are going through this amazing revolution. And you're a part of it. You know, way back in 2012 when nothing happened, so much happened. But they forgot to tell you. They forgot to show you. I'm sure you recognize the whole world is in a real interesting place right now. And the prophecies are clear that the past is coming to an end, is being dismantled as gently as possible, but definitively being dismantled. And you, as a human, are becoming so much more than you used to be. New chakras, frequencies, new energies, new awareness, new science. You want to keep up? Come hang out with me once a week. We're going to talk about some really interesting stuff. Weird is the new sexy, they tell me. So come on, let's get weird together. Attack Ice. See you soon. Hey. Just check that out. That is a Lemurian seed crystal that was harvested out of the ground. And if you don't know the story of the Lemurian seed crystals, here, let me catch you up just a little bit. At one point in time, they were considered just a myth, a fantasy, you know. But those of us who believe still believed, and there was a story running rampant that in the days of Lemuria, when Lemurians knew that their civilization was going to be coming to an end, I don't know, global warming or something, you know, whatever it was that they were talking about at that point in time, but they knew their civilization was going to transition from the Lemurian civilization to the Atlantean civilization. That, you know, again, according to Star Nation teachings, it just kept going from one civilization to the other until here we are now. And each civilization was a different, you know, teaching, a different frequency, a different energy, an opportunity for us as a species, as a hybrid, if you like, to come together and to blend into one soup, because we're mostly water, right? Soup, you know. Well, when the Lemurians were anchoring into the 3D that would allow them to, again, eventually become the Atlanteans. And the Atlanteans got real busy about the 3D energy. But it was the Lemurians who enabled that to happen in the first place. And they brought with them, and as a part of the structure of the 3D, they actually created this thing we call time. And that measurement of dynamic and the physical proximity and the, you know, if you like, maybe everything's already happened, kaboom. And time slows it down so that you can actually look at it and rewind it and pay attention to it. And so time is more of a measurement than a law, if you like. And certainly our 3D bodies, physical dynamic expression, are a part of that. And so rumor has it the Lemurians were the Lemurian seed crystals. These were crystals that were given to you when you were just an energy being. And when you were transmuting to the 3D vibration, all of your knowledge, all of your wisdom, all of your experience got imprinted on these crystals and then buried in the ocean until such time as humanity was willing to and able to work with that memory of all of that multidimensional information, basically. Well, they were accidentally found, you know, a fellow by the name of Dominique. You know, he knows crystals like, you know, a cattleman knows cows. And when he pulled a few of these out of the ground, he went, whoa, that's different. Well, long story short, and do some research on them, you're going to really appreciate that little rabbit hole, especially if you're a crystal lover. We had discovered, when I say we, it was a good friend of mine once upon a time, R.I.P. Theodore Bromley, also known as the Crystal Man. Yeah, I think he still has a website that his daughter owns, thecrystalman.com. Totally recommend it. You know, all the merchandise. It was nothing but quality. And so anyway, him and I got word that there was a whole bunch of pieces when they discovered that were broken, you know, and we saw that, you know, occasionally there was the occasional crystal ball being made up by this group, and there was other things being made up. And, you know, Theodore and I got together one night and we conspired or dreamed or, you know, visionated or whatever term you want to use. Why don't we get them to make these little balls about this size, you know, in various sizes, but we had them cut according to sacred geometry. not just Fibonacci sequence, but, Metatron's cube, that kind of dynamic. And then we actually had some of them mounted on a 9-inch silver chain, which makes them a perfect pendulum, or for a variety of things, for scrying, or, feng shui purposes and stuff like that. But rumor has it, all of the crystals have been unearthed, from the planet, from the earth and the find that they were placed in, which was really interesting because a Lemurian seed crystal was placed and the sand covered it, and next to it was another one and the sand covered it, and next to it another one and the sand covered it, and just boom, 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 and row after row after row after row. Pardon me. It was such an interesting and unique find, and this is why, of course, he sent these crystals in the first place. What's fascinating is, science can tell you, and this is a little piece of selenite here, science can tell you sometimes where crystal is formed under a microscope, because crystal ultimately is compressed elements. A very layman explanation of it, and a little bit of rose quartz, which is a pinky quartz as well. But basically, it's environment squished, kind of coal makes diamond, if you like, there's a whole lot more to it. But the bottom line is that there's lots of quartzes that are different colors, and they're different colors based upon the elements that were in their environment when they were became, and, because you've got, rose quartz and, yellow quartz and citrine and amethyst even is a quartz, as well. One of my favorites actually is the Hudson mine out in Ontario has the deepest, richest, purple that you can identify it on site. It's different from all the other amethysts that I may bump myself into around the planet, because I just love crystals, can't stay away from them, And so it's interesting because even amongst crystals themselves, just the naked eye is able to identify in some cases, hey, that's from that mine and that's from this mine. And so under a microscope, I can tell you they can get real busy about that, And what I can share with you is that the scientists have come back with, there are elements in these Lemurian seed crystals that have never been found on the planet that we know of. Fascinating. That means they came from somewhere else. And they call them seed crystals because normally what happens is that a cluster will grow. You'll get the seed, and like a plant, if you like, a cluster will grow. Sometimes it grows outwards, sometimes it's a geode, but crystals actually grow. Honest to goodness, I've seen a crystal ball that was stored for way too long in one position, that when I finally got my hands on it, we're talking generations, it actually had a bit of a bulge on it. Weird as heck, honest to goodness. And so, so are they plants? Are they sentient? Are they living? I don't know. I don't know for sure, but I can tell you as a kid, when I connected with crystals, they fed back in such a powerful and a cool way. There's something very authentic and genuine and honest, about it. I still to this day, 57 years of my life, I play quite a bit with the crystals for medicines, as a tool for that, And you can see just over my shoulder here, even, I've got the onyx there is, crystal ball is sitting on top of, the black and white, scenario there. And of course, right next to it is the smoky quartz. Get another smoky quartz here, right here, this is my chakra healing kit, this one here that I use for my clients, actually. I like the pyramids for the shapes, honest to goodness. And yeah, gotta admit it, size matters. When it comes to crystals, and boom, size matters, honest to goodness, in the crystal world, for sure, the bigger the better. That doesn't mean that you can't get some real cool action out of just a bead size, either. I've got some, dragon's teeth here that are just itty bitsy, and I throw those in my drinking water because it makes water wetter. There's a word about this long, hydro, look it up, but the bottom line is that it helps things get better and gooder, right? And, as science is catching up with us, there's this really cool opportunity that we have right now of welcoming in this new science, this new belief systems, these new understandings, this, with this wave that as humans are experiencing, this evolution, that we're experiencing to step up into our power. There's some of us, that we might bump into along the way to give us a hand, to guide us with a little bit of something, to offer us a little bit of insight. Our guest today, Shannon, I know she has, oh boy, I mean, I think the first time we actually met was around a drum circle. If not, then I think we had better get busy with the drum circle. But you know, she's this amazing goddess priestess, walking the walk. I'm actually excited to hear her story, just like you are. Because, you know, I mean, from my perspective, she's like normal, but I can appreciate there'll be a whole bunch of folk on her block that may not think that. But you know, I mean, she's one of us, if you like. She sees it. She's connected. You know, I could rave on about her, but I think I'll just bring her out and let her introduce herself. Shannon, will you please? Oh, there she is.
Hello.
Oh, hello. So thank you so much for coming on the show. I know we're only just a short distance from each other, like an hour, right? So, you know, I do get the notices when you're, you know, doing your ceremonies and all that stuff, and I send all sorts of goodwill, but we don't actually get together often. Yeah, you know, for sure, to just chat and, you know, to just kind of catch up. So I always allow this first introduction. Hello, everyone. This is Shannon. Shannon, this is everyone. Okay. I want you, and I know this isn't normally how you are, so all humility aside, okay, all humbleness, I want you to start by bragging about what are you up to these days? You know, what are you doing these days? We're going to backtrack, and I want to hear about your awakening, how you stepped into your juice, right? Because you're doing it unapologetically, I've noticed. You know, just like myself, you know, I mean, you're just, here I am, right? You know, and I love that. But I also know, like myself, there's a story how you got there, and I'd love to hear that, you know. So what are you doing these days? Where can someone find you?
Well, you can find me at my website, www.webinescence.ca. All the special events that I have got going on will be under the events tab. And then the other section of my services, everything that I offer, one-on-one services, group stuff, everything is listed there. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out directly to me. All my contact info is on that site. These days is pretty interesting. Life has got me going in different directions, but I'm super excited because I've partnered up with a very dear soul sister of mine that I know we've known each other for millennia.
Yep.
But we just met last summer in this lifetime. And so we're creating these markets, this new wellness markets and other special events. So we just did a market in Langley over the spring, honoring Easter weekend, which was absolutely phenomenal. It was so much fun. And the next one we have is the Mother's Day, on Mother's Day coming up. And we've got some treats for people that would like a day to come and bring their mothers out, celebrate. We're calling it Her Majesty's Market. So we do have vendors.
You know, I was just thinking to myself, you're the kind of lady that could really create a shindig that on Mother's Day would work really well, right? You know, I mean, certainly something worth checking out, right? You know?
Yeah. We're offering free services like energy healings, foot baths, and I'm going to do a sound, like a vision and mini sound journey at the end of the day for everybody, for all the market vendors that are there, as well as the general public, like as a thank you for coming out and celebrating, right? Yeah, so that's super exciting because I love to get people together. I'm all about bridging the gap of separation, part of the Rainbow Tribe, if you will. Right? And it's interesting. My mind was being blown with your introduction because you decided to talk about Lemurian seed crystals.
Absolutely.
I have 11 of them.
What?
Yeah, this is my smallest one.
Beautiful. So now the way it's working these days, and because all of them have been unearthed, I swear to goodness, and I'm talking to the viewers as much as I'm talking to you, but call yours now. Just decide, put out this beacon if you want, this dolphin call out, this sing a song if you want, or a ditty, or put a smile on your face. But they're all in circulation right now. And we know that not all of them have found their original owners. Like, in other words, somebody with a Lemurian hand put that in the sand, right? Knowing at some point many lifetimes later, they were going to call for it, and like a boomerang, it was going to find them. And so right now we know there's a bunch of them hovering, just waiting for their people. I know I got about a half a dozen here at least that are just hovering. They're not mine, you know what I'm saying? Then they belong somewhere, right? And so put the call out and let it find you. Honest to goodness, it's so, right now is the time to remember all the stuff that's recorded in there. And it's interesting, you got, I mean, the master number of 11, right? You know what I mean? And, you know, very cool stuff, eh? Very cool.
Yeah, this is the biggest one I have. It's quite large.
So this one's a teacher. If you notice, there's a slightly different hue. Some of them are pinky hued and some of them are almost charcoal. And I've seen some that were like this phantom orange thing going on. They call that the phantom level. And so this, each level is slightly different. And the two of you showed me you've got that pinky hue, you know, kind of going on, which are the master teachers. They're the ones, kind of the overseers, the master teachers. It's interesting. There's no hierarchy. There's no I'm better than. It's not like a caste system. It's just that everyone has a job, right? You know, for sure. And the pink ones have a specific administration, an overseer, you know, perspective. It's their job to have a little tiny bit of everything, whereas some of the other slightly different colors, they have specializations and they're way better at whatever they're good at than, you know, anybody else, right? And it's just fascinating to me. So the fact that I'm seeing that you have these pink ones, it says it talks about who you are, right? You know, for sure. Here's
one. I don't know if it looks pink too, but this is one of the clearer ones that I have.
Yes.
And it's pretty wild. All of them, the energy is just like through the roof.
What I find interesting, of course, because of course we've already commented on how you bring with you this amazing yin energy, right? You know, this, you know, call it what you want, the Magdalene teachings, Kuan Yin, you know, White Buffalo Calf Woman. You've got that matriarchal, wonderful energy about you, you know, and the softness and the kindness and the healer and all that. But yet these crystals you've shown to me, the clearer they are, the more masculine they are. The smoky portions of them are actually the feminine, and that's always the closest to the earth and the seed itself. And it's actually the clear portions of the masculine. And so what I'm seeing is that these are tools to balance you with. Do you understand, right? You know?
Yeah, you know what my sun sign is?
What is it?
Take a guess.
I give up. Leo? What? Libra. Of course. See, I'd love to see. I now have an experiment going in my brain. I want to get you meditating, surrounded by these 11, right, in a circle, meditating, but actually meditating in a dodecahedron, and then just say go and let you just explode, right? Yeah, you know, I mean. Yeah, you see, totally. Now I want to get him pick the heck out of you in a good way, because I actually believe there'll be value for the mankind, if you like, you know, or womankind.
Absolutely.
You know,
no, I feel that, and with that suggestion of that type of meditation, man, count me in. Absolutely.
Totally. It's amazing.
My goodness.
And so I'm really glad to hear that it's about community. You know, you're bridging, you're inviting, you're, yeah. I mean, you know as well as I do that, you know, although these are events, public venues, you know, there's ceremony going on there all weekend, right? You know, there's.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything is sacred. Everything. So we are. Both Angela and I are trying to bring this back into the community to everybody, whether they're aware of it or not, and just give them a moment to, because I'll open up with a drum ceremony, right? And then connect in with a prayer for whatever a special event is in alignment with. And it was absolutely amazing, because now I'm just remembering, and it almost brought tears to my eyes at the closing circle that we did with the drumming on the last day of the 2-day Easter event. When we were doing the drum song, sending everybody off in well wishes in all 4 directions, singing the travel song. When we turned around and were facing the crowd was actually going and standing in each of the directions with us. And I was like, we all just came into unity right there, and it was effortless. and so beautiful. I just love it. It's what I came here for.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So
I mean, what else is going on now? I mean, drum circle, that we spent time around in drum circle together, haven't we?
yes, you
Yeah.
did come to a drum circle at trying to remember the last name. It was Jennifer
Quick.
Yeah, the Quicks.
Jennifer
yeah,
and
we were
James.
at the Quicks property there.
Yeah.
And we've had amazing circles there.
No doubt. No doubt.
I think last year. And
if you knew how many times that Wednesday rolled around, and I felt, I can feel your drums wake up, and you come together, and I'm like, oh man, I don't have enough time to make it. I mean, I'm just far enough away, unfortunately, right? For sure.
And well, during the down season, so when it gets too cold or too wet, we go indoors. And now I'm living in a place where I've got enough room in my living room. I can open up my home to 12 to 15 people, which is quite large.
Yeah.
And man, we blow the roof off this place every week when it gets full. But during the down season, most people like to stay home. So it's a smaller group, but still powerful.
Totally.
And then once the weather gets nicer, we'll go out we actually started going down to the Fraser River just on the Abbotsford Matsqui side, where we can have a fire right on the beach.
You bet.
And do a circle around Sacred Fire, which is my jam. I love it.
I hear you.
And then we do a lot of drum circle gatherings at Heritage Park here, Fraser River Heritage Park in Mission. So,
cool.
But of course, the group is up to going anywhere and everywhere that we get asked to go.
Yeah.
And the more places we go and the more hearts that feel called to join the circle, the better, because there's no discrimination. There's no prejudice. There's nothing. I was blessed by my soul sister who taught me everything that I know, which ignited the medicine within my soul back in 2018. She crossed over that rainbow bridge in 2022, but she had blessed me with the knowledge that was passed on to her. She passed it on to me and even blessed me to start my own group before she even passed on herself. And of course, I've had blessings from the elders in the community as well. And Great Spirit knows how to put and align things. So, and I'm always checking in to make sure that I'm honoring the culture, I'm honoring the teachings, because the last thing I want to do is mislead and misguide or misuse anything. So and that's why my drum group's called Open Hearts.
Mm-hmm.
So it is open to all walks of life.
So,
all cultures.
I mean, yes, you've received some indigenous, teachings, training, etc. Tell me a little bit about you. Like, what I mean? Were you born weird? Rattling your hands, kind of.
No, not at all.
Oh,
yeah. So I was born and raised here born in Vancouver, but my teenage life, I grew up in North Van and led a pretty, I would say, plain life. Like, it wasn't without hardships or whatnot, but never really had a religious connection. I knew somewhere that there was something out there greater, but never really quite connected with any one faith, if you will, or anything like that. And, had a colorful past, because with traumas and whatnot, we find ways to deal and cope. And so there's been a lot of adversities that I have learned how to get over and become stronger from. And it wasn't until I was 35 when I had my awakening, my spiritual awakening, and it literally was overnight. So now that I know from where I'm at, I can explain what happened.
Absolutely.
But while it happened, I had no idea what was happening to me. And I did end up getting hospitalized on 3 different occasions with an acute psychosis.
Interesting.
And they did label me as a person with bipolar disorder, because of the energy I was tapped into. And then when they locked me up, I went from being in a very good place to, oh my God, I can't go home, and then very depressed.
Mm-hmm.
So of course that would look like a manic kind of thing. And I get that.
Totally. Oh, the alchemy shot, right?
Right. Yeah,
totally.
absolutely. And I know now that my journey needed to be part of going into that Western medicine system to see how people that are having spiritual awakenings and the natural born healers are being treated. And also to learn what's going on, and then eventually go back and bring the teachings to the public, because man, I'm now there for people that are having these awakenings but don't want to go to the hospital. They don't want to go to the doctors. They're actually being led to me because of their awakening, and because of what I've been through and what I've learned over the years. Now I'm actually equipped to be able to help them understand that they're not going crazy, but they definitely have to learn about energy, how to manage that and get grounded.
Oh man, absolutely, totally.
Right.
Yeah.
So my life at that point was in a pressure cooker at 35, single parent. I used to be a traffic control person, very good at my job, lane closure truck, the whole 9 yards, given a lot of responsibility. And I loved what I did. Cool. I just didn't particularly like the industry that I worked for. Mm-hmm. Right. But I was really good at my job. I came home alive every day, so there was a reason to celebrate. And helping other people stay safe, it's always been something that I took, pride in, really. Totally. But I got injured in 2010, a severe tailbone injury at work. It took me out for 6 weeks. I didn't break my tailbone, but I bruised it real bad. And so it took a while for that to heal. And during that time, the industry shut down because we were just going into winter. So I got laid off. I was on EI, medical EI and all of that. And then when the money ran out and I was ready to go back to work, well, my union job was not giving me a placement. And I was like, what is going on here? So I'm trying to get my job back. It's not working out. Money's running out. Ended up going to the ministry for help. Like, hey, I'm trying to get my job. I got to pay rent. And they shot me down.
Yeah. So interesting, because, sciatica, bottom of the spine, root chakra, your entire connection to community is shot, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm surprised you didn't go through a divorce, Totally.
Well, I was already single at that point, and I had just actually kicked out my child's father for the last time.
There you go.
Everything was happening. Yeah. Oh, everything.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So that night, though, that I thought this was my last chance, as far as I know, to change the circumstance, to at least be able to pay rent, which was due in 5 days. Right? And when I got shot down from that, I came home that night. And when I was brushing my teeth and looking in the mirror, right after I finished, I'm staring at myself and I said, we can only go up from here. And I was staring at myself, talking to myself as if that was another person in front of me, but we were one, right? And I said those words, we can only go up from here. And I said it with such conviction, I'll never forget it, because I went to bed and I woke up the next day at the crack of dawn, which I've never done without an alarm clock before. And I had this energy running through me that was like, everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay. And I jumped out of bed. I was so excited. I opened up the curtains. I was so excited. And I'm like, okay, what do I do? And then I heard that internal voice for the first time very, very clearly. And all that I heard was, get your ducks in a row. Okay, what are my ducks?
What the duck does that mean?
Right? What are my ducks?
Totally, yeah.
And the first duck
block off
that they said was, you need water.
Foul.
You are dehydrated. Drink
Mhm.
water and drink it now. And I was like, okay. So I went and I sucked back, I don't know, about 10 huge glasses of water until I was full. And then I was like, wow, that's interesting. I never liked drinking water. The only way you could get water in my system back then was in coffee.
Got it.
That was
Not
it.
quite the same at all. Like,
Right? Not at all.
Yeah.
But actually, at this point, because of the energy shift and understanding it now, I was very dehydrated.
Yeah.
And so my body needed that. And then the next duck was, okay, I need nourishment, like other than water, like now food. So I thought about having my regular breakfast of bacon, eggs, and toast. But as soon as I thought of the bacon and the eggs, I almost got sick to my stomach. I've been a meat eater my whole life.
Yeah.
And now overnight, the thought of eating meat was going to make me sick.
Interesting.
It was very interesting. And I'm like,
out of curiosity, if you're prepared to share, what's your blood type?
Pardon?
What's your blood type?
This, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I've always thought it was AB positive, but my mom seems to believe that it's just B positive.
Okay. Yeah. Totally.
But I would like to get that tested. Just
that would actually make a lot of sense. That meat isn't necessarily the friends of what you're talking about here, right? You should be grazing all day long on, nuts and berries and stuff, right? For sure. And that's where you actually function the best, right? It's typically into the O blood types. They like their heavy meats, that kind of stuff, right? The flesh eaters for sure, right?
Yeah. And my mom is O. Yeah,
okay.
She's O positive.
Yeah. So that would have been the diet you grew up with. That's what you knew. And then all of a sudden you woke up. Now, this is interesting. Like, obviously, I want to hypnotize you and take you back to that night, right? So, yeah, you know what I mean? Because it all happened in that span of, this is it, rock bottom, to waking up in the morning, Popeye, right? So, you know? And,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember anything about that? Like, do you remember anything about those moments? I mean, have you had flashes? Have you taken yourself back to explore it? Like, come on, talk to us.
Through the night, because I was sleeping when it happened, and it wasn't until years down the road, after the third energy rise, where I realized, okay, something's happening to me. Like, what is this? I went into meditation to get the answer, and I got it. Kundalini. I had a full-blown, unprepared, unpredicted Kundalini rise overnight. I commanded that. That was my trigger point of my awakening.
It makes total sense. Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
But I had no idea while it was happening because I had no teachings. I never even heard the word Kundalini in my life.
Totally.
So when Spirit dropped it into me 3 years later, I was like, what is that? And they said, Google it. So I did. I Googled it.
Yeah. And
while I was Googling it in the Wikipedia version of it this was back in 2013, I think. And it talks about, the Kundalini is very well known and worked with in the Eastern cultures.
Yeah.
They're very aware of it.
Yeah.
And teach it and regularly work with it. Whereas most Western people have no clue. No clue, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, and most of our medical, scenario doesn't have a clue about anything beyond the particle, right? If it's an energetic, I mean, again, I got all my academic certifications in metaphysics, which, I leave them at the physical, and I get busy with all the other rest of the universe, right? So, kind of idea. But they have no.
You're going to get your real answers.
Ultimately, it's been my experience. The particle is the last place. That's where kind of the physical world is almost like, the toilet bowl. That's where everything ends up after it's been processed energetically by the universe first, right? It's fascinating, But so this is interesting. I mean, we have, Merkaba activation, I'm saying could be another word, potentially, I'm saying along those lines. Now the Kundalini itself, because of its relationship with not just Eastern teachings, but also the balance of the yin yang, right? Did that lead you, I'm sure, to maybe Tantra corners or the Tao or, into some of those corners at all? Or?
Well, I haven't felt the pull to dive into that.
Yeah.
Really. It's interesting because with my journey, it's like whatever I feel like I'm drawn to or whatever I'm supposed to go to, it's going to come at me.
Totally.
Like
Yeah.
there's no shadow of a doubt. And then I just have to go there. So if anything that felt like culturally the biggest pull, it was drumming.
Okay.
It was the indigenous. And I do get met with a lot of flack from some people that cannot see me for who I truly am. And it's gonna make me cry. But it is what it is. It's part of the journey. And with the challenges, it just, I don't know, with the challenges of my life that I've had to overcome, it's always helped me figure out a way to fix it.
Yeah.
Right? To mend whatever that was.
Yeah.
And I wish it didn't have to be so flippin' hard. I really do.
So when you're talking about the drum, you're talking about specifically the hand drum?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the African drum? You know,
the hand drum, because that's what Spirit led me to in 2018.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, it wasn't until 2018, and it was Great Spirit that led me there. A friend of mine took me to the Friendship Center down here in Mission, where I met
Mission Friendship Center. I swear to God, I have sent so many people down there, and they're so friendly and welcoming. And I actually donate tobacco every year there. I mean, I always end up when I open up one of my tobacco pods. One of these little pods here, it literally has 1,000 seeds. So I have no choice but to get 1,000 sprouts going at the same time. And like, what am I going to do with all this? So I give buckets of away. Whatever's left over, I take down to that Mission Friendship Center, and they find homes for all the tobacco plants. Right? Totally. What a great bunch of people.
Absolutely.
So many people ask me all the time, how do I bridge relations into the Indigenous community? They want to be a part of something. They want to show up. They want to make friends. They want to, but yet there seems, and it's interesting because I never experienced that. For me, I was always welcome for as long as I can remember. I've always just, there's never been a boundary or a barrier, and maybe that's just because I'm not shy. I don't know, but but I get this question all the time of how can I show up and da. And it's interesting how often I'll send them to a friendship center, like the one, in Mission there, right? That just show up, say, hey, can I volunteer? You know what I'm saying? Make some friends, because that's what it's all about. If anything, the Indigenous communities are about connection, right? And if you keep showing up, then automatically you just become a part of their extended world, right? What's fascinating is the hand drum itself is, and I've been exposed to lots of different tribes, right? Like in some of them, for a woman even to hold a hand drum is verboten, right? And in other circles, that's it's the women who handle that, right? And it's a very interesting dance. I can appreciate, being, trying to be culturally cognizant, right? But also recognizing that every time you follow kind of even one rule, sometimes you might stub your toe in other places. And, the best you can hope for is to read the room, right? And ultimately, and I honor where you came from with that, which is, I'm listening to my own drum. I'm listening to my own space. And if I can receive in some way, shape, or form some more deeper understanding, through my environment, whatever culture that might be. Here, we're in Canada; it's all over the place, but certainly the Indigenous, for sure.
Well, I did end up getting a DNA test because I thought with the energy that flowed through me when I connected with the medicine for the very first time, it was insane. Like I lit up. I felt at home for the first time in my life in this body and in that space.
Totally.
It was another profound experience after the initial awakening. And it happened 7 years later. 7 years later, I was put on the path. And so I had a DNA test. And my soul sister, Sue Ann, she was like, don't worry about it, Shannon, even if it comes back negative.
Correct.
All that matters is what's in your heart and soul.
Oh.
And of course that resonated 100%, but the test came back and I do have 0.0003% Indigenous in me.
Look at you.
It's very small, but I also have a bit of all the different cultures from all around the world.
That's just it, right? That drum is international. I'm sure
Yeah.
you were stalking me a little bit when I was doing that drum run, at the end of 2023 there, right? Where we did 75 days on the road, and in 22 cities in between, we anchored in and we did drum circles. And we had everything from the big mother drum to these we had 100 of these African drums that we're carrying with us, and of course, there was some. I had my own, and plus there was a couple of other hand drums that showed up in that way too. And along the Trail of Tears, every day I had a drum in my hand, right? So and there is the sacred and the cultural teachings around it, but there's also the science. There's actually something. Part of the community I was working with through this, it was actually a charity drive for the Beeston's Children's Hospital, right? So, and it's interesting because they came to the table with all this science about, this is good for this, good for that, mycelium, and and interesting. One of the guys that I was working with, he is a musician that has volunteered and played with the hospitals, even here in Western medicine, for like a good probably 25-30 years. What he found was that the drum circles helped specifically with things like eating disorders, anything to do. And when he started sharing with me some of these things, I literally connected it to the root chakra, which is interesting because I heard from you about root chakra damage. Does it make sense, right? And root chakra trauma in that scenario. And so it makes total sense to me that in that moment, you would manifest the medicine you need most, regardless of what color it showed up in or what culture it showed up in, right? So, for sure, you knew what you needed and you manifested it to you from your environment, right? So, and that's good medicine, in my opinion, right? I can appreciate your respect, coming from that respectful and a humble way, but at the same time, own you. We're at this time of bridging, and red and yellow, black and white. We can all feel the drum, right? We can all.
It's the heartbeat, and it brings us back to the root and the truth of who we all are.
Totally.
Every human is indigenous to Earth. Right? Yeah. And we're not separate from each other. Not at all. And that's what I feel without a shadow of a doubt. And so the circles bring that, and they bring everybody who is looking for that connection, which we really all are. Totally. I believe.
That's what it's all about, I believe.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. So I got to tell you, with how I acquired my drum, because it's another fascinating. I'll try to make it quick.
we got time. We're doing good.
So that first day that I was introduced to drumming, I was like, I believe I got naturally high, which I didn't know we could do.
Yeah.
Yep. I've done all kinds of other things to get high in my life, but this was the first experience where I actually got high without doing drugs. And I was like, oh my God, this is what everybody's looking for.
Totally.
Holy. So I was like, oh, I need to do that again. And then the next day, the same friend that brought me down there asked if I wanted to go down the next day and connect with it was a co-ed circle. The first one was just women. It was a women's warrior circle. And the second one was a co-ed circle. So the co-ed circle with the men and the women, well, there was twice as many people there, and the energy was twice as powerful. And I got even higher, and I could not believe it. When I got home that second night, I do my meditation before bed. I connect to the Creator. I'm like, thank you. Oh my God, thank you for this. But I need a drum. And this isn't just some human want. Like, I need a drum, but I only have $50. But that's okay. I know when the time is right, you'll put me on the right path for it. I'm not kidding you. 10 hours later. So I slept. And when I woke up and I'm sipping my cup of coffee in the morning, I get a phone call from that same friend that introduced me to all of this. And she goes, Shannon, you're not going to believe this, but I'm down at the flea market right now, or the farmer's market. and there's a lady set up selling drums down here. And she goes, there's one drum. You can see it. There it is. Oh God, it's hard to do this backwards. So that drum with the crow on it. She goes, well, I call it a raven, but crows, ravens are the same thing. She goes, I can see this raven or this crow on this drum. And she goes, I swear to God, I can hear your name when I look at it. She goes, but don't take my word for it. Come see for yourself. And I'm like, okay, I have no doubt that that's my drum because of what you're saying to me right now. Yeah. And she goes, but well, wait a second, Shannon, that's not like the weirdest part of it. I don't think this woman knows how much these drums are worth.
Totally.
Because she's only selling them for $50.
No doubt. I've seen them upwards of $400 locally.
Right?
Yeah.
I sell mine for $300.
Yeah.
The bigger ones, the smaller ones are $200. But yeah. I'm like, oh my God, Terry. I just asked the creator for a drum and I actually put a price tag on it.
You did so.
And it was $50.
Totally.
And she goes, well, come check out this one. And I go, no, that one is for me. Please ask the lady to hold it. I can't get there for a couple hours, but I'll definitely be there before she closes up. I get down there and I said, hey, I'm Shannon. I'm here to pick up the crow drum. And she goes, oh, I don't have it. And I just went from obviously super elated to like, what do you mean? No way. And she goes, oh God, I don't like that look. I'm going to have to ruin the surprise. What?
Your friend.
What? Yeah. What? How? What? What's going on? So she said, your friend, and you probably know Elder Eddie Gardner.
Of course I know Eddie. Oh, yeah. Hi. Totally. Yeah.
He was going to a rally with Terry, his sidekick.
Yeah.
In Poco. And it was the only day ever that he left Chilliwack and got all the way to Mission and realized he didn't have not one drum in his car.
Yeah.
Not one. And he's like, what? He usually has 5 of them in there.
Yeah, he's
right?
Yeah.
This is great spirit conjuring something up, right? And so Terry tells him about this drum and my experience, because she's blown away about how I just asked for this and it's actually being delivered.
Yeah.
And he got it. He understood. So he went and bought the drum and he blessed it with his own song and hand while he was at the rally. And he hand delivered it to me.
Hi.
And sang a song before he placed it in my hand. Like I was a puddle. I was a total mess. Just, I could not believe what was happening here.
Do you know the song he sang? Do you remember?
Yes. I forget what the title is, but where the eagle flies high.
In SoCal. Okay. Yep.
Yes, you know it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I haven't been in circle with him for quite a few years, so I haven't heard it in a long time. But oh my goodness, what an honor! And so I knew without a shadow of a doubt, like this was a path I needed to step onto. Yeah. And every step of the way, even with challenges that have come up since my soul sister passed away, I keep checking in. And I keep being reminded of how I got on this path. Great Spirit doesn't make mistakes.
I agree.
Right? So it's an honor to have been blessed with the experiences, the knowledge, and the teachings that I have been passed on me. And I passed that on exactly the way it was passed on to me and asked of me to pass on to others. And anything else is guided by spirit only. I don't get in the way of any of it. And it's such a blessing and such an honor. And I love it. It just gives my life so much meaning. And so I hold the drum circles every single week, unless, I the odd time that I come down with a cold or whatever. It rarely ever happens these days. I'm pretty good at taking good care of myself that I avert from getting ill. But, life happens once in a while. But for the most part, I'm showing up every single week. And at least a few people are also coming, if not more. So I'll continue to keep doing what I'm doing, going where I need to go.
So that's every week, Wednesdays still?
Wednesdays, yeah.
Yeah. And so Wednesdays, Mission BC.
Yep.
How brave do you feel about sharing, any more information where people can reach you?
So you can find the Facebook drum group page, which is open to everybody. You just ask to join and I'll approve you. It's called Open Hearts Drum Group. And then on there in the featured post, there's an Eventbrite page that you can go and sign up, because I can only fit up to 12 or 15 people. I think I got it set to 12 right now. I do prefer you to register, and then you get my address and instructions of which door to go to, because I live in the top part of a house and it's at the back patio door people need to come to enter, but you get the full...
Oh, yeah. I'm already a member.
Yeah, look at that. Woo! Yes, you are. Awesome. So yeah, you can register on Eventbrite, and if anybody has a problem with registering or an issue with technology, whatever, just reach out to me and I'll get you set up. Absolutely.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. It's just such good medicine. It's kind of cool. We've played a little bit with crystals, and we played, definitely with the drums, right? For sure. And it's, and before I move on from that, I actually want to, over my shoulder, right there, you can see that there's kind of a bag, right? Inside that bag is a drum that used to belong to John Kimmy. John Kimmy was actually, and he's passed, R.I.P., but John Kimmy was a Hopi elder and historian. And he found his way serendipitously in my world, and he knew that he himself was passing. He was sick, and he wanted to anchor into a lodge, the Stone People's Purification Lodge, Sweat Lodge, was the slang, but he wanted to anchor into a lodge that was, just neutral, that was just, healthy and clean and all that. And he anchored into my space, and he ended up staying there actually for quite a bit on that land. And every day him and I had an opportunity to share and trade, and, he caught me up to speed in a lot of the Hopi stuff, lots of it. And on his way out the door, he gifted me that drum. And it's interesting. The story behind it, when he was a little boy and there was a revolution taking place, his family was relatively well off, and in comparison, I guess, and on the wrong side of the political donkey, or whatever, or elephant or whatever. And so they said, you're getting out of here and you're leaving all of that for us, but you can go in the house and you can get one thing. And so he went into his grandma's house, and he knew exactly where he was going, upstairs, into the attic, into a trunk, and he pulls out this drum. And it's interesting because, unfortunately, that was also the last time he saw some of his family members, right? Yeah, and he carried that drum with him his entire life. And I received it to him literally kind of as he was stepping off of, the ceremony grounds after spending that time. And he taught me about the water drum ceremonies. He taught me about, the prophecies of True Ed Brother. And I mean, there's just so much that he shared. It was just so inspiring to me. It filled me so much. But to have him gift me that drum, on his way off my lands with no, he owed me nothing, right? You know what I'm saying? There was no, even an awkwardness of he should, pay me or something. Does that make sense? It wasn't, it was purely a gift of, and when he made a point of when I play it, it's always for ceremony. It's never just casually, right? And I swear to goodness, when that drum starts to sing, he shows up.
Mhm.
You know, there's just something really,
Mm.
really cool and powerful about that. You know, the altered states that you speak of are, again, so therapeutic too, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
you know, humans will smoke it, eat it, drink it, you know, all sorts of stuff to get into those spaces. But,
Mhm.
you know, I dare every one of you viewers, pick up a drum and see what happens, right?
Mhm.
You know, and
But you
there's
got to
just,
do it sober.
of course, of
It's so
course,
important people understand that, because that's the medicine is so powerful that you have to have a clear vessel to make that connection on the most powerful level.
totally.
Yeah,
Totally. Well, then the altered states don't work right. If this
that's
is
right.
all, if this is all
Absorb it.
contaminated, it's not going to work the way it's supposed to work, right? You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, get clean, pick up a drum, and a drum. Like I've been to, for example, there's a longhouse up in Alert Bay, right? You know, up in the northern coast here, where they
Mhm.
actually don't have a big powwow drum. What they have is a log, and they beat that. And I swear to God, it creates this amazing sound, of course, that fills the whole smokehouse, right? You know,
Wow.
longhouse, right? You know, and so it doesn't even necessarily need to be a drum. You know,
Mhm.
one of my powerful teachings from one of the elders I received over the years is about grief and you know, getting rid of this anger and these kind of things. And the therapy is to go down to the river and find yourself a really big rock and find
Mhm.
yourself a really bigger stick and start wailing on that rock with that
Mhm.
stick, with everything you got, tears included, right? Yeah, you
Mhm.
know, and you want to keep going until either your rage is gone or you've made a toothpick out of that really big stick, right? You know, but 9 times out of 10, before you get there, you're clear.
Mhm.
And it's as much the repetition, it's as much the trance work as the raging, right? You know, that creates that opportunity for the healing. And
Yeah.
you know, thank you so much, Shannon, for that reminder. You know,
Mm.
totally.
My pleasure.
Well, we're top of the hour. I would love nothing better than to give you an opportunity to one last time, you know, how besides the circles, can people contact you to be a vendor in your events? Can
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah, reach out to me anytime or check out the website under the events tab to find out where all the events are going to happen. And I do work one-on-one with people for psychic readings, energy healings, and provide one-on-one mentorship programs. Like I am a trained shaman as well. So I mean, I kind of got lots of tools in my metaphysical toolbox, and I'm also going for my doctorate with the University of Metaphysics to be a master's and get my doctorate in spiritual healing. So,
very cool. Awesome. We'll be
mhm.
alumni. I love that.
Yes, I
Yeah,
know.
totally. Oh, that's
Super
great
excited.
news. Totally. That is such great news.
Thank
Oh
you.
my goodness.
Oh, it was such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Oh, you're so welcome. Now, you know, this is really kind of cool. I mean, just to kind of cap it off, your spiritual awakening, you know, went from, you know, party girl to, oh no, life is turning into crap here, to we got to make some changes, to you had the privilege of going to sleep one night and then you wake up and you've been kicking ass ever since.
Yeah,
You know, I got to share with you that, and you and I both know that the shadow work that comes along with that, the work you had to do, you
hmm
know, after the fact, of course, was huge,
hmm
right? You know, there's
hmm
no denying any of that.
absolutely. It
But
is not all rainbows and butterflies,
but
but
what
it's
I'm
worth
sharing,
it.
exactly, and I'm sharing that sometimes you need that trauma, sometimes you need
Mhm.
that pressure for for to get that release, for you to get that change in your life. And so, you know, what I want to share with people basically is that, you know, your life may not be falling apart, it might be falling together, and you just don't know it
Absolutely.
yet, right? To, you know, allow that friction, allow that angst, allow all that stuff, that pressure cooker that's building, maybe lean in. You
Mhm.
know, maybe get yourself to a place of, okay, I want this to make, I want to make this shift now. But you have to have that conversation with that person in the mirror, right? So you
Mhm.
know, there's nobody else, there's no one going to rescue you,
Right. What
period.
I got from my awakening too was that it wasn't a breakdown. I was
Correct.
actually having a breakthrough.
Exactly.
I broke through onto the other side of a world I didn't know existed.
Totally. I hear the doors break on through to the other side.
Yes.
Boom, boom,
Me
boom,
too.
boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, you can have fun with it. Absolutely. But it does come with some, some hard work, but it is absolutely worth it, because this life is sacred and every part of it can be magical when we allow ourselves to get out of our own way.
Yeah. Well, prophecy is in the air. There are many changes empowering us as a species to step into our fullest potential. And, I'm glad to be, again, we're so close, but yet we're so far. And it's nice to know that on the other end of the valley, there's someone beating a drum, every Wednesday. And just know that even if I'm not there in person, there's that part of me that can almost hear you when you start up, and I join in, right? So,
Awesome.
totally.
Thank you.
And,
a lot of people tune in with their spirits. We have the ancestors all here. Like, the energies, it's crazy big, but it's so beautiful because it's medicine, and it helps everybody.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Awesome, love.
Thank you.
Matakawaisen. Have a great day. Thank you so much for showing up.
Oh, thank you too.
All right, folks. See you later. To be continued.
Bye, everybody.